Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now the end of August of 2022, and that means we're only getting closer to Star Wars Andor, The Bad Batch 2, as well as Tales of the Jedi. That's really going to all conclude the 2022 year of Star Wars material before we head on into 2023, which really is, of course, going to focus on Mando Season 3 and the Ahsoka Tano series plus more. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, if there's one thing that a lot of Star Wars fans have been very critical over is, of course, the sequel trilogy movies. Now, as I've stated before in the past, when it comes down to the sequels, there's a lot of good moments in there, here and there. But continuously speaking, from start to finish, the sequel trilogy has a lot of flaws. It has a lot of bad scenes in there, a lot of flaws in the actual trilogy by JJ and Ryan, and that's the only major problem that I have with the sequels, is the fact that it really took a turn for the worst. It totally ignored George Lucas's vision. It totally turned away from Star Wars Legends. But anyways, moving on from all of this, we already know that John and Dave are very well aware of the fact that so many fans are just fed up with the sequels and very annoyed with how Kathleen Kennedy handled everything from 2015 until 2019 for the most part. And now things are beginning to shape up with a light at the end of the tunnel, and it all begins this fall leading into 2023. So this fall, we have Tales of the Jedi, which I believe is going to be a very successful animated show, and then we have, of course, more live action stuff next year. So moving forward from all of this, with both Disney and Lucasfilm now getting ready to begin developing their new Star Wars TV shows that will be announced at D23 and Disney Plus Day, both Favreau and Filoni are also getting ready to develop The Mandalorian Season 4 in the process. Now, it's described, however, that recently actress Daisy Ridley was able to reveal more about Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy when it comes to new truths that were unveiled by her. She went on to state the following to the fans: "One thing I feel I have to get off my chest is the fact that when I was working on the sequels, and especially with Episode 9, it was the most tiring and toxic experience one could have. I don't want to reveal names or anything like that, but much of the cast and crew were always having some form of arguments on set over their frustrations, over all the setbacks that were put in place by Kathleen Kennedy. I will never forget that we had planned and done like 10 different endings for the film, and Kathy could never figure out which one to use until last minute. I also trained and rehearsed for so many scenes that took months of bodywork and getting in shape, only for those scenes of mine to get deleted on the whim for no reason and explanation at all. We had a lot of dark race stuff that was going to be quite scary actually, and it would have made the fans mental and flat out scared. We were going to do some pretty wild things there, and I was just so sad to have seen all those deleted scenes that I worked hard on for months. This is what Kathleen Kennedy wanted though. She wanted us to all, of course, to expect many of our most hard-worked scenes to possibly not make it into the final cut." Now, let me just pause here for a quick second before we get on to the next thing that Daisy has to say, is that we talked about this lightly before as well. I don't know if you guys recall, but back in, I would say, the fall of 2018, that's when we got real word that a trailer for the movie was being worked on, and it was going to debut during the holiday season of that year. That got delayed because of all the reshoots and everything shifting around for The Rise of Skywalker, when Matt Smith was taken out of the equation. I mean, a lot of things were happening. And so, I think that Daisy Ridley is absolutely referring to that. And it really created a big shift because we didn't get an actual teaser trailer until April of 2019. I mean, let that sink in for a moment there. When you look at The Force Awakens or even The Last Jedi, they both had some form of teasers well over a year before the actual movie even debuted. So that was Kathleen Kennedy's failure at the marketing, and it really took a hit on the movie without a doubt. The only saving part about the full trailer, which debuted at Celebration, was you had Palpatine and all. So, moving forward from all of this, on top of that, this is where things begin to really progress now, because This is where it involves, of course, everything related to other, concepts that Kathleen Kennedy let go of. So she goes on to say, I will never forget when we worked on scenes that were actually very tedious and very difficult to deal with, is that Kathleen Kennedy wanted, of course, though, to all expect those scenes to eventually be written off. I will also never forget that JJ tried to defend one of my scenes to stay in the film that involved myself and Adam fighting Palpatine, portrayed by Ian. I mean, it was such a beautifully shot duel that was going to easily go down as the best fight in the sequels. Yes, Palpatine was supposed to have a lightsaber at one point, and we had filmed that. Ian had a lot of fun too. That was one of the endings that we were working on that Kathleen Kennedy wanted to delete since she felt it didn't actually serve the story and was catering to the prequels too much. I also wanted to point out that many of the creators at Lucasfilm had convinced Kathy that I needed to work on my acting and that the acting we were presenting for this movie just was not good enough. Just a very toxic environment at the time, very judgmental and always feeling like someone is talking behind your back, in which they were. I feel much better where I am now, and I have been in the talks with John and Dave, which I really can't say much about that, but we are putting something very fun and exciting together for the near future. That's as far as I will go with that. But it's been a very tough experience that really drained my energy on set. Now, the thing about this too, before I progress things further with this, is that we obviously know that Daisy Ridley's been a lot more vocal lately because she's not really involved with Star Wars anymore. Her only future involvement that we talked about is that John and Dave are going to be using her as multiple cameos for upcoming TV shows that's going to take place in a post-Episode 9 timeline. And I think that's the proper way for them to really give us their version of Rey. And that's what John and Dave want to do. They want to give the fans their version of Rey, their take on the character, and I think that's excellent, because we're going to see a different side to Rey, a more mature version of the character, given that the new Episode 9 era, what John and Dave are trying to put together at minimum, is going to take place 10 years after the events of Episode 9. So given that Daisy Ridley as Rey, give or take when The Rise of Skywalker comes out, she's right around 20 years old, roughly, so that would mark her around the age of 30 by the time we get the post-Episode 9 era content. So that's another big foundation that John and Dave are trying to establish. First, it was The Mandalorian that really spawned the Book of Boba Fett, the Ahsoka series, and how they're making a Luke Skywalker anthology show and the Bo-Katan TV show. We talked about that too. The Mandalorian is used as a foundation because it created an era. They want to do the same exact thing with a specific big show that's going to be based after the events of Episode 9, that's going to spawn other TV shows out there, limited or multi-season ones, doesn't matter. So I think it's a very interesting technique of what they're doing with Star Wars. It's almost like its own way of really spawning new shows instead of how Marvel uses phases. John and Dave are using foundations. They're using one main show to create branches of other shows in a designated era. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about Daisy Ridley. What do you think about that whole ordeal with Lucasfilm? And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.